Hello there, friends. Brian Noe with you from Cards of Light, Bright Blessings of the Tarot for our Sunday morning spread for May 22nd, 2022. Good to be with you again this week, and we'll be going to the table as usual for our four-card energy reading in just a moment. But wanted to mention something at the top that I think will be helpful to people who, especially folks who are just starting out with the cards. Last week's video, after it aired, I looked at a screenshot of the table and realized that I had sort of missed the whole picture there. I talked a lot about the individual cards and stuff, but I really didn't. There was definitely a big picture that I had missed in those cards last week. If you go back and look at it, I think you may spot it as well. I was getting the individual pieces, but kind of not the overall picture of the spread. And it was pretty obvious when I looked at it afterwards. And I realized that I had not taken the time to get my mind quiet before I started reading those cards. And this is a really important thing because what we're essentially doing with the cards is trying to access information that is very deep inside us. And you can't do that when your mind is all aflutter. You need to get calm and centered. And it's a great quote from Ram Dass. The quieter you get, the more you can hear. And that's definitely true with this practice. So I'm going to link out to an older blog post that I had written on this subject. And it's actually about tarot rituals. I'm hesitant to use that word because it has so many connotations, but it really tags it probably better than anything else. Essentially, the most important things to do before you lay out the cards and try to understand what they're telling you is, first of all, you need to get a good shuffle so that you've got a random draw. But then second, to get your mind quiet. And if we do a few things, whether it's, kind of setting the environment, a lot of us like to use candles and incense. Some of us will have the four elements represented on our tarot table, those sorts of things. I think of that as being similar to if you were having company for dinner, you might pay a little more attention to how you set the table, or if it's a romantic dinner, you might have candlelight or whatever. So same thing with this. It's conducive to, kind of getting you quiet and in the spirit to maybe do some things with the physical environment. But really just taking a moment then after the shuffle or even after the deal to just be quiet, take a few breaths, and kind of get the mind still really goes a long way towards a more meaningful experience with the cards, perhaps better information that way. All kinds of things. So love to hear what you think. If you take a look at the post, I'll link to it here with the video. And you can pop on out to the weblog at Bright Blessings Tarot and take a look at that. Let me know what you think. And if you've got any kind of pre-game routine, think of it as also being like an athlete, somebody that's stepping up to the free throw line. They usually have a set routine that they use every single time they step up to the line that helps them get in a position where they can make their best shot. So this is kind of the same as that too. It's another analogy. Anyway, if you've got a routine that you use or ritual that you use with the cards, I'd love to hear that. If you got questions about that or anything else about this practice, I'd love to hear from you too. You can either leave comments here with the video or pop on out to the weblog and leave them there. Let's go to the table now for this week's spread. Okay, so let's take a moment to take a couple breaths and get still. All right, well, we've got our usual four-card reading set up here for this week. We've got the physical dimension of our lives, the social emotional, the mental, and the spiritual dimension represented by these cards. And an interesting spread, we've got two majors and two pip cards for this week. We have the Seven of Cups in the physical dimension, the Ace of Discs in the social emotional, the Priestess in the mental, and our old friend the Death card, card number 13 in the spiritual dimension. Let's take a look at these one at a time. Crowley has this one, the Seven of Cups style debauch. And this is Venus in Scorpio. This card is just the card of excess. Too much fun. And it's that moment when you are at a party and you realize, I've eaten too much, I've had too much to drink, something's going on here, and I don't feel so good. And the card kind of looks like that. It's that sickening feeling coming on. So I don't know if somebody's had a rough weekend thus far or what, but this card is kind of a cue, especially coming as it does here in the physical dimension of our lives, to take it easy, step back a little bit, maybe get a little bit of rest, drink some water, get well hydrated at this point, and get past this sort of sicky feeling that we might be having coming on here. And if that's not literal, it could just be too much stuff going on, and also too much emphasis on physical sensations and pleasures and that sort of thing. Maybe it's time to just kind of step back, take a breath, get a little fresh air, and focus on the simple things instead of debauch. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear back from anybody if this has been your experience so far with this weekend, or if it happens in the week to come that you find yourself experiencing some of that energy. We've got the Ace of Discs here in the social emotional dimension, and this card is like the seed of potential in the material realm, in the material world. So this could be, lots of times this is the beginning of a not so much the practical aspects of beginning a business, but the idea of a business venture or of a project of some kind, but something that will become very tangible in the material world. So in the social emotional dimension of our lives, this might be the start of a relationship of some sort, might be the beginning of something in the physical realm that will have a huge impact on our emotions and on our relationships with others. But the energy there is like a seed, and I like to think of it as an acorn, just because that is such a small thing. It doesn't look anything like a tree, but it eventually becomes this huge oak. So we should be nurturing the good seeds in our lives. Meditation, prayer, service, those sorts of things, day after day after day, that then bring about good relationships and good feels. So we'll see where that goes this week. Okay, up here in the mental dimension, we have the Priestess. This is the card of the connection with the unconscious, the connection with the mystery, with the stuff behind the veil of material reality. And so in the mental dimension, I think that that is a cue to pay attention and to do the things that cultivate that sense of there's something more here than just our bodies. There's something more here than just the things that we can sense with our physical senses. There is something behind all of that. In fact, we know, obviously, and we've talked about this before, that what we experience as material reality is an illusion, literally. Everything is all energy. We know this. The physicists have shown us this. Everything is energy. It appears very solid and real. So in the mental dimension of our lives, this is an opportunity to try and get in better touch with that mystery. And there are some things that we can do to train our mind, to condition our mind. Actually, it's deconditioning our mind from all of the stuff that we have been taught and have sensed about the way the world is, and kind of getting back in touch with that essential nature that's underneath all of that. For me, meditation does that probably better than anything else, but there are a number of ways of getting at that. So maybe some of that coming this week might be a flash of insight, where all of a sudden we feel that sense of oneness and of the energy underneath everything. Or it may be a cue to take some practical steps in getting our minds right so that we can have a better sense of that. Because it makes us more effective in the material world to remember that it is an illusion. It's a paradox. Yay! I love this card. This is one of my favorite cards in this Thoth deck. The synthetic geometry that Lady Harris has used is just gorgeous in this Priestess card. So another one of my favorite cards in this deck or is the Death card. Coming in the spiritual dimension here, this is about rebirth. This is about creating a very fertile environment for growth and the new growth that springs up from that. And not just growth, not just continuing on the same path, but something where we say, okay, we're out with the old, in with the new. And a sense of things opening up. It's weird to look at the Death card and say, oh, well, it's about resurrection, but it really is. So this might be the end of a spiritual chapter and the beginning of another. Letting go of some things that don't serve us anymore and gliding on up into the light. And I think that's the way I would read that one. Yeah. So an interesting spread this week. I would love to hear what you think, if any of this is resonating with you, or as you go through your week, if any of it kind of pops back to you and you're like, oh, that's what that card was. I would love to hear from you. If you're a reader and you would read these cards differently than I have, I'd love to hear that as well. I will be back, as far as I know, on Thursday for our 3-card energy reading as well. Thank you for spending time with me this morning. I appreciate it. And between now and next time, take care of yourself.